Hello and welcome. It's Thrive Thursday. My name is Charlotte Jacobs if we are meeting for the first time, and today we are going to be talking about 3 strategies to overcome self-doubt and fear when making decisions. And so if you are with me live, let me know with a hashtag live. And if you're watching the replay, let me know with a hashtag replay. I'm super excited to talk about this work with you today, because I find that so many coaches, healers, and holistic practitioners have a hard time making decisions because they are afraid they are going to make a bad decision. And so I'm super excited to get into this with you today. Before we get started, if we are meeting for the first time, my name is Charlotte Jacobs. I'm the co-founder of Thrive Academy with my partner in all ways, Jesse Corin. And we've been called the #1 source for turning coaches and holistic practitioners into 6-figure transformational leaders. We're like OGs in this heart-based marketing, heart-based sales world for coaches and holistic practitioners. And our members have earned hundreds of millions of dollars collectively using what they learned at Thrive. And so I'm delighted to pass on some of that wisdom to you. And as you know, business, like having a business, attracting clients is not just learning some things and doing them, right? It's not just following some templates or following some system or some path. There's a lot of inner game work that needs to happen in order to be willing to put yourself out there. You know, we all deal with issues around self-worth, around making, like, being visible, right? All of the things that have been struggle for us or frustrating for us in our life, they show up when we start to show up. And so if you can relate, if you can let me know, that would be great. So I'm super excited to get right into this content. Let me know if you can relate. And so I'm curious, do you sometimes doubt yourself when you are making decisions? Let me know with a yes in the chat if that is true for you. Let me know with a yes in the chat if that is true for you. And I'm going to go ahead and start sharing some strategies around this, because if that is the case, you are not alone. It is really, really common for people to doubt themselves when they are making decisions. Maybe you're afraid that you might make a bad decision and get stuck with the consequences. And so today we're going to talk about the mindset and the strategies that support me to make great decisions that I feel really good about, and decisions that have supported us to impact tens of thousands of people, to make millions of dollars, and to help our entire community. And I want to pass on some of that wisdom to you. If you haven't already watched the video that we put out on Tuesday, I highly recommend that you watch it, because I'm going to share about those strategies there, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper here today, like I always do on Thrive Thursday for our Facebook Live. So here's the thing, is that self-doubt, really, it used to interfere with most of my decisions. And I will tell you that one of the reasons why Jesse and I have created so much success in our business is because self-doubt no longer runs the show. There was a time where, I felt so paralyzed about some decisions that a lot of opportunities passed me by, and decisions were made for me by default. Maybe you can relate. Now, I'm happy to say that's no longer the case. Nowadays, self-doubt takes a backseat to my higher self. Higher self is the one that makes the decision, who has the steering wheel and really takes us where we want to go. So one of the things to think about is, like, where does self-doubt come from when trying to make a decision? Well, in our experience, self-doubt comes from our fear of making a bad decision. But it doesn't stop there, because the fear may tell you that if you make a bad decision, that it's going to put you in an overwhelmingly bad situation that you will regret for the rest of your life. That level of fear can be paralyzing, right? And the problem is that when you get into a paralyzed state about making decisions, and you're faced with a big decision that, you can't make a good decision, the intention and the space that you're in when you make the decision actually is the first thing that we need to take care of, right? Because you need to be in an empowered state when you're making decisions. If you're frozen and avoiding it, you lose the power to make great decisions. You're more likely to make a less than optimal decision. I wish I had the stats right now, but there was a study that showed that when we were, as humans, when we are in a state of fear or stress, that we're like 30% less intelligent or something like that, right? So we want to be clear, we want to be open, we want to be making those decisions from an empowered state. And the problem is that if you are in unempowered state when you make a decision and you make a bad decision, it just keeps that negative spiral cycling down, right? So, and then the cycle of self-doubt becomes stronger and stronger. Fortunately, we've discovered 3 strategies to overcome self-doubt and make great decisions. So, again, let me know if you're here with me live with a hashtag live. And I wonder, oh, I'm not able to actually see the comments. Hopefully that didn't end the video. I was just trying to see the comments because for whatever reason, Facebook is not showing me the comments here. So if you can let me know that you can see me here, that would be great. And I'm going to do a quick check here because I want to make sure that I am still live. I hate it when I'm talking and nothing's happening, you know? All right, let's see. Yes, looks like I'm still live. Okay, fantastic. All right, so let's talk about strategy number 1, which is letting go of your fear of making a bad decision. This is the first step that we need to work with. So when I've been frozen in self-doubt, it was usually because I was trying to avoid something bad from happening. And once I started thinking about what I didn't want to happen, the fear would become paralyzing. And it's like living in, it's like, oh, I feel like I live in a dog-eat-dog world where I could mess everything up by simply making the wrong decision. Even if the wrong decision was about like what to wear to a session with a client. So it sounded something like this. What if I don't look professional enough? Or what if my client feels disconnected from me and then wants to cancel and then I have to refund all their money and then I won't have the money to pay the rent and then I'll be in this place of scarcity. I won't be able to attract any clients and then I'll have to get a job I hate. And then what if I lose the job and I become homeless, I mean, it literally would cycle out like that. So how did we go from what should I wear today to like dying cold alone in the streets? You know what I mean? So does your mind ever take you down a rabbit hole like that? One of our spiritual mentors, Byron Katie, says the worst thing that can happen in life is a belief. And we understand this to mean that the pain of making a bad decision actually has little to do with the bad decision. The pain comes from the belief or the story you tell yourself about what could happen after the decision. Maybe you can relate to this. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know if this is something that you've struggled with in your own life and that you've, found yourself struggling with worrying about making bad decisions. I have an example for this that a participant at our Client Attraction Summit once said, hey, I really want to sign up for programs with you, but I've already invested thousands in another mentor's program and I have nothing to show for it and I don't want to get burned again. Perfect example of fear of making a bad decision. And so in that conversation, we worked with her to overcome her self-doubt and to be in an empowered space and to make a powerful decision, like an empowered decision about how to move forward or not. And as we started going deeper down the rabbit hole, we discovered that she was telling herself all kinds of things like she had trusted herself once and failed. She's saying things like, I was so stupid. That was a bad decision. I can't trust myself again. I'm a failure. I'm never going to succeed. And in this conversation, she had a breakthrough, and I'll share it with you in Strategy 2 in just a bit. But for now, I want to stress that the pain comes from the things you tell yourself, not from the reality of your situation. So to quote Byron Katie again, reality is always kinder than your story. Reality is always kinder than your story. So instead of beating yourself up for the stupid decisions you've made, why don't you tell yourself something different? Because this is a belief. And here's the thing, beliefs are interesting because we can hold the beliefs, whatever beliefs we want, and they can empower you or disempower you. And I certainly grew up with a lot of beliefs that were disempowering, and I had to do a lot of work to create beliefs that were empowering to me. And for me, Jessie, we live in this belief that we live in a friendly universe. And this is something Byron Katie has said. It's also, something that Albert Einstein alluded to many, many years ago about living in a friendly universe. And that when I live in that belief, and who knows if it's true or not, but it's the way I experience the world. When I live in that belief, I make different decisions, right? So we actually, in an attempt to instill that belief into our children when they were little, when they were, probably before they were like 6, we would whisper this into their ear. We'd say, I love you no matter what you say, no matter what you do, and we will always love you. And we live in a friendly universe, which means that everything is happening for you and never against you. If it feels good, it's here to support you. And if it doesn't feel good, it's here to help you grow, but it's always a good thing and it's always a gift. And I'm going to drop that into the chat just so if you'd like to save it, you can have it for yourself. And this specific belief and reaffirming this belief has, it's like the more we hear ourselves say it, the more we believe it. And the more we believe it, the more evidence we see for it. And the more evidence we see that we're loved no matter what, that the universe really is a friendly place, that every decision that we make brings us to either greater support or greater growth, then the less we can fear making bad decisions. Because, if that is true, and if you really want to live with that belief, then you can't lose, you can't fail, you're not stupid, you can trust yourself, right? So if the statement speaks to you, I really want to invite you to read it again. Again, I put it into the chat. You can print it out, you can say it to yourself, you can share it with your loved ones, you can really let it be a healing balm for those and, for you and those you love. So that was strategy number 1, which is to let go of the fear of making a bad decision. Strategy number 2 is to turn your deepest regrets into your greatest gifts. To turn your deepest regrets into your greatest gifts. Now, if someone confided in you that they really wanted to work with you, but they had a bad experience with another mentor, healer, coach, whatever it is that you do, what would you do? Well, if you were like many people, if you want to be on the sales box end of the spectrum, you might tell them how your program is different and better, and you would try to make the sale, right? Not anyone here, but instead, we recommend putting the program to the side and having a conversation to help them see the gift in the bad decision. Because once you get that every bad decision comes with priceless gifts, you will never fear making a bad decision again, because you will look forward to the gifts that you get to unwrap. So I was sharing a story earlier about a woman who wanted to do our programs, was like, I had a really bad experience with another mentor, and I'm afraid to make that mistake again. And so this is what we asked her. We said, what was the biggest gift you got from this other program? And she thought about it, and she said, well, I did get a few high-end clients. And so I asked, well, how much money did these high-end clients pay you? And she smiled sheepishly as she realized that the new clients had paid more for the investment in that program. And so from like, I didn't get anything from that program, to like, wow, actually I did cover my investment. It wasn't that bad, right? And she had been telling herself that story. And then asking what else did she get from the program. And she shared enthusiastically a few more things that seemed small at the time, but looking back were pretty big. And she discovered that she really did get some gifts from that program. And it dawned on her that it wasn't a stupid decision, that she wasn't a failure, and she really could trust herself. And from that awareness, she felt empowered. And so maybe you can relate if you start to look at some of the things that maybe you have regrets about, but maybe they were a good decision in the long run, or what was the gift in them. And honestly, don't remember if she ended up signing for our programs or not. That's not the point. The point is that that she made her decision about signing up from an empowered state. And so we actually say that the state, like the intention that you're in, or the state that you're in when you make that decision, is more important than the decision itself. Because you start to retrain your brain to make decisions from an empowered state as opposed to a disempowered state. So if you really want to let go of your fear of making a bad decision, we have a little assignment for you, and that is to make a list of your 10 biggest regrets, and then find at least 3 gifts from each regret. And you might be surprised at what you come up with. And as a matter of fact, if you want to share with me in the chat, whether this is now or later, share with me in the chat what it is that maybe one of your regrets that you actually found out there was a big gift in it. I would love to hear, and I would be so honored. All right, strategy number 3 is questions, like some questions that help you make better decisions. So once you're in an empowered mindset and an empowered state, it's time to get down to practical strategies for making decisions. So here are 3 questions that I ask myself that support me to make great decisions. So question number 1 is, do I have all the information I need to make a decision? Sometimes paralysis can come from trying to make a decision with missing information. So what questions can you ask yourself that would bring you clarity to the situation? What questions can you ask that would bring clarity to the situation? So that's question number 1. Do I have all the information that I need to make the decision? And if you don't have all the information, what questions can you ask that would bring clarity to this situation? Question number 2 is, do different parts of me want different things? And this is a really interesting thing to consider, because There's the coach part of me that like strives for excellence and is unstoppable and wants me to always keep working. And then there's the little girl part of me that just wants to play and, just go out and run around in nature and go do something fun, just relax, and then the tired teenager part of me that wants to just relax and rest and not do anything. So since they can't agree on what to do, that can lead to screwing around and being distracted and, and being on social media for a while with to no end, checking the news, whatever, right? Which kind of sort of appeases all three of them, but it's not really fulfilling. So what is way more powerful and what you can do instead is you can actually have a board meeting with all the different parts of yourself. So you bring in that tired teenager part, the playful part, the one that wants to keep working, all of the parts. Let them have a conversation. Give them all a voice. When I was certified as a coach, this was called deep democracy, like letting all voices be heard. And so you can actually do that internally, right? And it really honors all parts. And you can do it you can journal, write it out, you can type it out, you can just imagine and have that conversation. Even in some of the work that I did, very preliminary, but no, I'm not remembering what it's called, where it's relationship systems coaching, where, gosh, I wish I could remember what it was called, where you could actually have people stand in for parts, or you can even use chess pieces to have the different parts where you're actually dealing with where people are and having them all have a conversation in that way. It seems kind of silly, but it can be really, really valuable, right? To have that dialogue with all the different parts. But the thing is that this is your dialogue and you get to add whomever you want into the conversation. So if you want to, I don't know, include Oprah on your board, go ahead, right? And what does the part of you that projects who Oprah is, what would that part say, But one of the most important parts that you want to bring in is your higher self, your higher guidance, the part of you that, that really has got your best interest in mind, that's all about alignment. And you can bring in a mentor or mentors that you respect. So each part brings a different perspective towards solution that's a win for everyone and all the different parts of you as well as everyone impacted by your decision. So get creative, have fun with this, enjoy the process of coming into alignment with all these different parts of yourselves so they can all have a part of the conversation. So that was question number 3, is do different parts of me want different things? Sorry, question number 2. Question number 3 is, where is my decision coming from? Is it coming from love or fear? So we have a saying that the intention behind your decision is more important than the decision itself. And making decisions from love and kindness perpetuates more love and kindness in your life, right? And yet making a decision from fear and scarcity perpetuates more fear and scarcity. So I have an example of this. This is probably, I'm guessing this is probably 5 years ago now, that we entered into an agreement with someone who, we could say borrowed $15,000, but we basically went to him to ask him if he could help us with something in our business to get the job done, and the work never got done. And we spent 6 months with him lying to us, like it was really very confusing. Like nothing was happening, but he was lying to us and pretending that something was happening, wasted many hours of our time and wasted our money. And I know, like for Jesse, he found himself losing sleep over it and waking up with adrenaline pumped anger. And it was like thinking things like, this guy's a scam artist. Like I need to stand up for myself and our family and get our money back. And after trying for many, many months to try to get our money back, we had to make a decision. Do we get an attorney involved or do we let it go? And we realized that the cost of devoting months of our life to this fight was just far too great. And, we have so much fight in us, and we'd rather fight for you. We'd rather fight for you to have the life you want, to have the business that you want. And as opposed to fight for that, let's fight for our community, let's take that fight energy and do something really magical with it. So we decided to let it go, not because we're spiritual people or because it was the right thing to do, not for any reason except it was the kindest thing to do for ourselves. And the reality is that, that money came back to us over and over again. Like there was an opportunity cost to pursuing that. And so, really making that decision from love rather than fear made an enormous difference for us. And so I want to invite you to ask yourself that question. So that was is, are you making your decision from love or from fear? So I ask you now, what is it what's a decision that you need to make? Maybe you're afraid of making a bad decision, but maybe you can use these tips, these strategies that we've shared today to make a decision from an empowered place, to get yourself into an empowered state and make that decision from an empowered place so you can start to trust yourself more and really release that self-doubt. So you can really, this is all about making a difference with other people. And of course, we have to start with you. So with that, I am going to sign off unless you have any other questions. I will come back to take a look at the chat to see how you're doing. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead and drop them in. And I will, here on the Book of Faces, you can drop them in to the, drop me a little question if you need to. My friend Molly Mahoney, who's like an expert in organic Facebook, getting clients from Facebook organic, she calls it the Book of Faces because, the Book of Faces doesn't necessarily like it when we call it by its name. And also even noticing, not even using the C word for like, COMMENT. So I'll just say drop or, ask or something like that instead, so that the algorithm doesn't make sure this, that this doesn't interfere with this video being seen. Anyways, that's my little organic tip for the day. All right, so thank you so much for being here. Until next time, this is Charlotte Jacobs signing off because your people are waiting for you. Talk soon, everyone. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.